If you've been listening to Dateable for a while now, you know that we're all about pursuing what works for you when it comes to dating, as long as you are intentional about it. The goal is to be honest about what you want. And sometimes that's casual dating or a fling. That's why we're so glad the app Fling exists if you aren't really in the market for a long-term relationship. It's time to remove the stigma too. Casual dating is absolutely a valid, confident choice if that's what you want at any age or life stage. The key is being aligned with your partner or partners. Fling is designed for women in mind. It's completely free to join for us ladies. You also get to choose who can see you, share photos privately, and keep things discreet, which gives you more control over the experience. So if you're looking to have a little fun while you're single, download the Fling app in the App Store or visit fling.me today. Again, download the Fling app in the App Store or visit fling.me today. Lately, I've learned that my confidence starts with feeling good in what I'm wearing. And this used to stress me out. But now I realize you don't need an overflowing closet. You just need a few pieces that make getting dressed easy. That's why we love Quince here at Dateable. They make high-quality essentials like ultra-soft organic cotton, premium Mongolian cashmere sweaters, and premium stretch denim starting at just $50. Everything's beautifully made, timeless, and easy to dress up or down. I just picked up a few of their silk camisoles in different colors, and they make every outfit feel more elevated. The best part is that Quince prices everything 50 to 80% less than similar brands because they work directly with ethical factories. Upgrade your everyday. Download the Quince app for app-exclusive offers or go to quince.com/dateable. Get free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada and the UK too. That's QUINCE.com/DATEABLE. Hi, I'm Yue Xu.
And I'm Julie Krafchick.
We're active daters turned dating insiders.
Here to dive into everything modern dating and relationships.
Welcome to Dateable. Hello, friends.
Welcome back to another episode of Dateable.
Off-season, on-season, mid-season, post-season, pre-season.
I'd like to say this is the culture season. We are really going into cultural trends right this minute. Culture season.
Classy.
Yes, very classy.
I like that.
It's like I need some wine and cheese as we talk.
As we talk about, do men suck? No, I'm just kidding. That's the culture of men sucking.
That feels like a wine and cheese conversation. But really, we are talking about today a really good topic of how do you date men when you feel like you hate men? And if hate's a strong word, how do you trust men when all you see is examples of how you shouldn't? It's a big one.
We've seen all of these trends recently about how it's so uncool to like men. You know, like having a boyfriend is embarrassing. Desiring men is unfashionable. You should decenter men from your life. And straight women feel the pressure to feel like they have to apologize for being attracted to men. My favorite line from one of my favorite comedians, Leslie Liao, she's like, I'm attracted to men, but I don't find men attractive.
It's a good one. So there was actually this recent article in The Guardian. This was from June, the end of June of 2026, so pretty recent. Mm-hmm. And it was, Is Heterosexuality Hopeless? That was the name of the article. It was by Arwa Madawi. And, you know, this article was really interesting because it looked at, you know, all of the cultural movements that you were talking about and how it felt like the online environment like really amplified this gender distrust, that, you know, this discourse isn't necessarily real life. Like they didn't want to actually say that like people weren't justified of their frustrations. But at the end of it, they actually felt like heteropessimism isn't the best framework. And it's really kind of about like even hetero optimism a bit. So it was interesting that they got all that from really diving into it. And we're going to talk about this on this episode. We're not going to ignore the pains that people have, but also how do we not let them get in the way if we are actually trying to date men, if we're hetero, and also for the men listening. we know we have the best men out there listening to this podcast in the Dateable community.
Hell
because we don't, I think this is the part that kills me a little when we get into these like real gendered conversations is, yes, there are some really shitty men out there. There are. No one's going to deny that. But there also are some amazing men out there. There's also some really shitty women out there. And then there's also amazing women. So I think I agree with this article that it gets often sensationalized online. And then, yeah, if you're seeing all these articles like, is having a boyfriend embarrassing? And you're like, but I still want love. Like, what? Is that embarrassing now? That's not really helping us either.
It is really unfortunate that the algorithm works that well. And this is what I'm often frightened by, because you could click on one article like this and then be served all the content that becomes its echo chamber. So then that forms your reality. Then all of a sudden you go, yeah, men suck, or all women are opting out of dating. But on the flip side, if you've never seen this article or even grazed something like this on your social media, then you see a completely different reality. So I worry sometimes that we're all walking on the same earth in different reality bubbles.
I agree. And then I think also even outside of the internet, realistically, like when you're hearing stories, either from friends or friends of friends or people you know, it's always going to be like bad relationships. Like no one's talking about how great their relationship is. Or if they are, you're skeptical. You're like, what are you hiding if you're always going around saying how good your relationship is?
Yes.
I feel like, like in my relationship and when I met my husband, I was like, I don't have anything to talk to my friends about.
Yeah.
And that's because it was going well.
Yes.
So I do want to point out that side too, is that we often hear all these stories that are negative. We like to talk and gossip about these negative stories. So the more negative stories we hear, we need to counteract them with positive examples. And the reality is you're not going to hear those as often. You have to be conscious and seek them out and look at the people in your lives.
Yeah, it becomes a snowball effect. But we really have to recognize that. Sometimes it helps to even just look at your friend's algorithm and see what they're picking up on, because you'll start to understand, okay, this is like a lot of this is fabricated and it's not reflective of reality. But if you are stuck in that pessimism, what do you do? Yeah, it's not as easy as like, I recognize I am pessimistic, but there's some things that we need to do about that.
I think it's not a bad thing if we're recognizing this stuff. Like there's a lot of articles that women see about like weaponized incompetency, emotional labor, bad relationships, narcissists, and all that. It's good to be aware of this stuff and see the signs. And again, not say all men are this way, but be able to recognize, like if you are seeing a man come into your life that you start dating, that, doesn't treat you in a way that is to your standards. I think it's important to know this so you can be like, bye. Again, it doesn't mean like everyone is like this. I think a lot of times we see the example though, and we say, oh, this is proof that shows that everyone is like this.
Yes.
And it goes back to the counter examples and finding those in your lives. Like one of the things I did, I always reference this book. I swear it's like changed my life. It was the Amy Spencer Finding Your Half Orange. You knew I was going to say it.
Yep.
And when I was in like kind of this depressed state about dating after like breaking up with my ex, I took this book and did all the exercises. And one of them was like, find examples in your life of couples you admire, like friends and all this. And I think in the past, I hadn't been so conscious about it, or I'd got into this mode like, oh, they can find it, but I can't. But she was saying like, it's proof that it's out there. It's proof that it exists. It's proof that you can have it too. So I think like, yes, there are shitty people out there. Again, I'll say that again. No one is denying that. But also like, that doesn't mean everyone is.
And then reflect it back on yourself too. Right? Because when we're reading all these articles and we're looking for examples of shitty behavior, we forget that sometimes we do shitty things too. We don't take any of the blame. And it's like everybody else's fault. It's, women being like, the men suck. But then have you looked at your own behaviors, your own actions, your own way of speaking to other people? The only thing we can do is take control of what our own behaviors are. And if you start shifting that, maybe the people around you and the people you attract end up changing too.
Yeah. Also paying attention to your own language. Like if you're saying all men
Yeah.
are trash, for instance, is that true?
Right.
Right?
Right.
All or nothing language is a big one. And the problem too is this is where this gets real tricky because I feel like, women, again, there are shitty men out there. No one is debating that.
Plenty. Yes.
Plenty of them. And we're fixating on that, especially with political influences and all of that. But then men also see it, right? They'll see these stories of just the pessimism out there. And then in turn, that makes them more pessimistic.
Yes.
And they don't want to try as hard. And yes, of course, you're filtering out the shitty ones. That's good. But then you're also filtering out people that are genuine.
Yes.
That just feel hopeless now because they feel like all women hate them. Like I'll always remember when we went to South by Southwest that time, we were in this meetup and this guy was like, I'm sorry, I'm a white male. And we're like, what?
Don't apologize.
It was so sad though, because you could tell this guy was like a good guy. The fact that he was even like sad about it, right? And I'm like, this is having the opposite effect that it's intended. Like we're just like cyclical.
I know. It's really sad. It's a hard place to be right now. It's like we're all lacking courage.
Yeah.
And so we're all hiding behind whatever is being spread in social media right now. And I can hear already some of the women listening to this, because we get these as reviews all the time, that you two are always defending men, that you are on the side of men, you're not feminists, that you are making excuses for men's bad behavior. I'm sorry. No, we're not. We are not trying to be like, men are great, defending all of our men. What is our purpose if we were to do that? All we're trying to say here is that, are we living in reality or are we living in this propaganda of what we think is reality? And if you truly feel so negative about men, can we get to the root of where that comes from, right? We're not saying like just trust that all men are great, but let's take some accountability here. Like we have to recognize there's some root cause for some of the pessimism that sometimes have nothing to do with the men around us or their behavior. Can we take accountability for that? And can we also recognize all of the good stuff that's happening around us? That's all we're asking you to do. That's it.
Also, this is what kills me every time. Like, how are you not feminist by saying that? Like, I don't think either you or I is telling anyone to stay with a shitty man and to like be with a man at all costs. That is absolutely not the message. So if that's what you're taking away, please go re-listen. That is not the message here. How are we, though, justifying an entire species? Like, to say, like, all men, there are so many different people within that. I think even in this podcast at the beginning, we were like, oh, we need a man's perspective. And it's like, you can't get a man's perspective to represent all men out there.
No.
And Yue and I are not a woman's perspective. We are Julie and Yue's perspective.
Yes.
Like that's the part that kills me. It's like, how are we like justifying like everyone at once?
Yeah. Please do understand this is not a podcast about creating this rift between men and women. We're actually trying to get rid of that rift because this is a product of us not communicating with each other in a way that's effective. All we keep doing is blaming each other, which is creating this bigger divide. And if you're coming into our podcast wanting to marinate in the misery, and like just complain, we're the wrong podcast.
Yes, we are.
That's not what we do. We don't believe that's a productive use of our time.
So I've been really thinking about just like online discourse, not even just with dating. Like I see this with AI and jobs and all the stuff of just how there's one story that's circulating and then the reality. Like example of I was like out with some old coworkers and they were saying how, like on LinkedIn, it makes it feel like everyone is so advanced in AI.
Yes.
And then like their companies are like barely scratching the surface. Yeah. So when you're looking at it, you're like, oh my God, I'm so behind. I don't know anything. And then the reality is it's like it's integrated, but not to the level that they're making it. And I think dating is similar, like with all these like men are terrible, having a boyfriend is embarrassing, like straight women don't want to date anymore. Like these are sensationalized headlines, and I almost feel like it's not reality from the people we talk to. I mean, straight women still want relationships. Like in the other episode that we did last week, you were talking about your friends that have kind of stopped dating, but they still desire a relationship.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If you don't desire a relationship, that's fantastic. Like no one's telling you have to. But I also don't want people to feel like, oh, now I have to pretend like I don't want a relationship, because that's not in style anymore. Culture is saying, don't have a relationship. Everyone wants to be single. Stay true to what you want. And these are sensationalized clickbait headlines. So want to just put that out there.
Yeah. It's not a reflective of anybody's reality, but you can subscribe to that if you want. And that's all the content that you'll ever be served. And then you'll just keep seeing proof for what you've been thinking about this whole time. But let's just take a step back. What are we trying to do here? I think we've lost track, right? I think we've lost sight of what we're doing in dating. It's now become this us versus you. Dating sucks. Economy sucks. Everything sucks. There are all these obstacles against me. So therefore, no one's going to be dating anymore. That's the story that's being fed to us. If we're to step back and say, why do I even want to date in the first place?
Yeah.
Well, actually, I'm looking for someone to build life with, companionship. I'm looking for someone to discover the world with. Can we remove all of the societal clutter and then focus on why we're dating in the first place, which is something we talk about in our book, How to Be Dateable. We have this whole chapter about knowing what your North Star is and your dating why. If you are so strong in what you're trying to do in dating, then you will block out all this other shit that's going on, all this other noise.
Such a good point. I want to get into this even more because I think this is really the crux of the conversation. But before we do, let's take a minute to hear from our sponsors. It's time to end summer with a bang. What if the biggest myth we've been sold is that great sex is something you're either naturally good at or you're not? The truth is, intimacy is a skill. Just like communication or conflict resolution, it's something you can actually learn and get better at over time. That's what I love about Beducated. They have over 150 expert-led courses on everything from breaking out of bedroom boredom to building confidence and exploring pleasure in ways that feel comfortable for you and your partner. You can learn everything from oral sex techniques and how to give the best damn erotic massage of their life. After watching a bunch of their sessions, one thing that really stood out to me is that better intimacy isn't about just doing more. It's about slowing down, communicating better, and being more present. Kick off your summer of love by taking Beducated's 5-minute quiz to discover your own personalized roadmap to intimacy. Go to our show notes in this episode and click on the link. Again, you can go to our show notes and click on the link. You all probably know, but I'm a bit of a foodie. I am pretty particular about where I get meat, but sometimes it's hard to make it to a quality butcher shop or grocery store in the day, which is why I'm so excited to try Omaha steaks that get delivered right to my door. It's like having your own personal butcher right at home. I'm trying to decide what to order because they have so many varieties of tender steaks like ribeye, filet, and even Wagyu. They're also known for their flavorful burgers, so I need to add that to my list. And I'm also really curious about their seafood, chicken, and sides. The best part is that they're individually flash frozen, so you get that exceptional flavor and the ability to keep them stored for when you need them. Try the Burger Perfection Flight at omahasteaks.com today. That's 20 premium steak burgers for just $79.99. Plus, get $35 off with promo code BEEF. That's omahasteaks.com, promo code BEEF for $35 off at checkout. Terms apply. See site for details. If you're someone whose book talk algorithm is basically just dark romance recommendations, I have one for you. Losers Part 1 and Part 2 by New York Times bestselling author Harley LaRue. I love this book because it transported me back to high school. It's a dark romance that starts with a former queen bee reconnecting with the four guys she used to bully in high school. What begins as revenge turns into something way deeper: found family, healing, queer representation, kink exploration, and honestly, some of the most emotionally layered relationships I've ever read in this genre. It was such a page turner, I could not put it down. The relationships between all the characters are what made the story so addictive. And if you're a physical book collector, the new deluxe editions are gorgeous. They have stenciled edges, exclusive fan art, and the foil covers connect to create one complete set. You can find Losers Part 1 and 2 by Harley LaRue wherever books are sold, in print and in ebook. I think this conversation is really about trust at the end of the day, that people have lost trust, the opposite sex, in dating apps, whatever it is, right? And I think it really needs to come back to like you and honing in on your needs and building self-trust and looking for signs that you can trust someone versus you can't. And some of trust, yes, it takes years to develop full trust with someone, but there are signals early on that you can pay attention to. And I almost feel like it's like, let's get the gendered stuff out of the equation. Like, let's just not even have that be a factor when you're first dating someone. Date whoever you're attracted to, but like, let's not say like all men can't plan or like all men aren't good at this. Like, look at like, okay, I'm looking for someone that shows up consistently. They're reliable. They can take initiative regardless of their gender. And can they do that? Can they do that as you're dating? Can I share the labor with them? Do they respect me? Will I be the one doing all the work to like get this relationship off the ground and then for the foreseeable future? These are all things that you absolutely should be honing into. You and I were talking about some of our friends' relationships where it was all apparent at the beginning, but, you know, years in, marriage, children, they are now the ones doing everything and holding up all the emotional labor. But again, all of it was there from the beginning. And it's not that all men are that way, because we were also looking at some counterexamples of friends where their husbands are 100% involved and doing all the things. It's like, how are you picking the person that you're going to spend the rest of your life with, whatever their gender?
And it's all shaped from the beginning of the relationship. It's very hard to change course when you're 10 years in. And this is where all of this pessimism is coming from. It's all this talk of like people 10 years into a relationship or a marriage, and all of a sudden they're like, I realized I was doing all of the labor, all the emotional labor, all of the actual labor, child caring in hindsight. But in the middle of that, it's hard to be like, why didn't you do this from the beginning? So we have a chance, and maybe this is a silver lining, we have a chance now to shape these relationships from the beginning, knowing that it could spiral into something that we don't want in the future. Because I look at my parents who've been together for 46 years. My mom will complain all this stuff about my dad and how he doesn't cook and da-da-da-da. And then she'll say, but it's because that's how we created our relationship. Right. That's our dynamic. Right? Like she's also like, but that's how we built it from the beginning. So 46 years in, it's a little harder to change that.
I also feel like, and I'm not saying this about your parents, but just in general, myself included, it's easy to see the work that you're doing. And sometimes it's easy to discount the work that your partner is doing. Yes. Whatever that is. So, yes, of course, you want to be conscious of the times where someone is doing nothing and you're holding the whole thing together. But sometimes it is taking that step back, because I found myself, sometimes I'll be like, oh, I'm doing everything here. And then I get upset and like say something and my partner's like, but I did this, this, and this. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you did.
Right.
And it's like, okay, and vice versa. There's been situations where same thing. So much easier to see what you're contributing. It's times you have kind of that misguidance of what they're doing.
Yes, absolutely. So it takes that communication and acknowledgement from the very beginning. For example, in early dating, if the person that you're going on a date with, they plan the date, acknowledge it. Let's say, thank you so much for planning this date. This was really well thought out. I will plan the next one. Like, I I think just taking that extra step to say and acknowledge, then you're building a foundation for something that's more of a partnership. But, when I was dating in my 20s and 30s, I never acknowledged that because I was like, no, I'm going to play it cool. I'm going to make them think that they should be planning these dates. And then you get to a point where there's like resentment built because there's no acknowledgement or any sort of appreciation. So take the ego out of it. Let's just lay the foundation for a good relationship.
I mean, that being said, I think the positive of all this coming to the surface, and maybe in the most extreme form, is that you can look for it, though, because, at the end of the day, like we were saying, it all shows up at the beginning and then later on you're dealing with it. I was watching this TikTok video this morning, actually. I think the person just read it from Reddit, so it wasn't really their story. But anyways, the people in the comments were like, dude, it didn't happen to them. They're literally reading Reddit. Anyways, this girl was talking about how like her best friend basically like told her to call off her wedding because of her husband. And she was like, did he cheat? Did something happen? She's like, no, it wasn't like one thing. I've just been like documenting the stuff because I didn't really know what to say and like what to do about it. So she basically had this list, and then the girl was able to see like patterns. And it came down to like her husband or future husband to be didn't respect her. And there were like multiple things. And she was like, and that's like what her friend was like basically trying to say, but like couldn't find the words. And she's just like, all the interactions feel off. Like it feels like he's like undercutting you all the time or like telling you could do better. Or she was saying how like they would have a thing and he would go into like, something little would happen. Like she lost her keys and it would become like, you're the most forgetful person. It would like become like a character
very
attack.
critical.
Yeah. So she ended up calling off the wedding and she was like, was this the right move? Like my friends and family were saying these are things you could work through together. And I read it and I was like, fuck, like I have a friend going through some of this. And it's like, this was the right move because these are signs. If someone doesn't respect you at the core, or there's like weird gender dynamics that a man thinks that he's better than a woman, or like there's critical, like there's a difference between voicing a complaint and then attacking someone's character.
Yeah.
And these things aren't going to go away. So yeah, this is a guy that you should be wary of, that you shouldn't trust. And it's good to be aware. It is good to be aware.
And my yes and to that is when you're documenting this, also express them for him to understand what he's doing.
Well, the friend wasn't documenting it. The friend was, because she didn't know how to like put it into words.
I see. I just find, I'm not trying to defend anybody's bad behavior. I just find that this is something like, yes, it makes sense that the friend is documenting it. But if you're doing this in a relationship, make sure your partner knows. Yeah. Like, let them be aware. Give them opportunity. And if they're still an ass, then you have your answer. Sometimes there's some behaviors that cannot be excused, but some people are just dim. Like, they
I agree. A lot of men, like men, okay, I'm not going to say all men, but some men.
They're just dim. Like, they're like, I didn't know that's what I was doing, or I didn't know that that's how that made you feel. And they truly feel that way. Like they truly did not know because they're so ignorant. And I also, yes, I hear some of you being like, it's not my job to teach someone how to be a good person. I agree, but it is our job to make our partners aware of how their actions are affecting us. And it is our job to protect ourselves by speaking up for ourselves, right? And in turn, that makes the other person aware of what they're doing.
Yeah. I think, though, again, I'm not going to use all men, all women, but
but I am.
But I do think like emotional intelligence, for the most part, not every woman, but it is a strength that women carry a little more. We were socialized with that early on. We were taught it from a younger age. In a way, men are kind of catching up. Like they just weren't taught that. My husband, I feel like it was a good baseline. Like, I feel like I had to like totally teach him everything. Like, I'm like, okay, this is someone that respects me, that has good conversation, that, generally I feel like is a good guy. But I do think there were some of these like areas that maybe he just didn't know because it wasn't something that he was socialized with. And I think over the years he has become more emotionally intelligent. And that's because I was able to give that to him. And then there's also things, and this is again for the people that are saying, well, I don't want to teach someone. First of all, I don't think it was me teaching him. It was more just sharing, and then like you're influenced by the people around you. And he's also taught me things. He's taught me how to like think things through more logically and not just blow up and get super emotional at any last thing and regulate my emotion better. So again, it's more of like, how do we help each other based off our strengths instead of being like, oh, I'm teaching this person. Again, it's like, you're only seeing what you're doing. What are they doing for you?
Yeah. I think that's why I think people are so lazy, because there is a lot of effort to be put into that. And then we use excuses like dating apps and money to say, this is why I'm not dating, everyone sucks. Well, it's because it truly takes effort to have these conversations, to mold the relationship to the point where it feels safe and stable. You're going to have some big kid conversation, all of that.
Yeah. So I would say it takes effort, sure. But I would say, at least in my situation, again, I'm not going to generalize for everyone, I feel like there's been some uncomfortable conversations that have been hard to work through. But I'd say like 90% of it hasn't been like so over the top effort. It's more like baby steps with things. And I don't even think of it like, oh, I'm teaching this person. It's more just like the more you have conversations, the more you're together, it kind of just rubs off on both sides.
Yeah, you're influencing each other.
It's too, right? You're influenced by the people around you.
Yeah.
It's just important to pick good people. I think that's maybe the takeaway from all of this. It's like, if you have like that Debbie Downer friend that's talking all the time about how
rid of them.
It's the worst out there, like that's going to seep into your energy, whether you're like consciously putting in effort or not. It just seeps in. I think this is the same. And what is it, like the 5 people you are around the most influences who you are. Yeah. So if you have a shitty ass guy in your life, or if you're a man and you're feeling like you always need to be proving yourself because the person you're with just does not trust you at all, even though you've shown no signs of that, that's not a good situation for either party. So again, we're not saying everyone's perfect. Most people you meet are going to suck. They're going to suck.
Yeah.
Or a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them. There's a big population. But how do you find the ones that actually matter? It reminds me of the episode we did with your friend Sonica when she was talking about the lowest common denominator of how, like, a man that she's talking to on a dating app, ghosts her or is like short in conversation. She's like, well, then I step it down. So he gives 20%, I give 19%, then he gives 18%. It just keeps going down. And we were like, okay, what if you just give 0 when someone's not meeting your needs and go find someone that is? Like, that's the way to do it. There's enough people in this universe that you can't find good people.
And then, I hate to do this, but maybe it's you. Like, maybe you're the shitty person. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes I really have to shake some, because I was this. At some point, I looked at my life and I was like, why do I feel this way about dating in men? I'm the reason, because I'm going around with this negative energy. And all I want to talk to my girlfriends about is shitty men and shitty behavior. I was the culprit. So back to the original question of, can you date men when you hate men? No. Because if you have that mentality that you already hate men, you're never going to meet someone great. You're never going to recognize a good person because you already have a cloud over people. Like, look at yourself. Are you the shitty person?
Yeah.
Can you do something about that?
But you also can stay open when the internet tells you to stay guarded, because the internet, remember, the internet is extreme points of view, because that's what gets attention.
Yes.
And get that gut check. Listen to our podcast. We still talk to people every day, all day. More people that still want a relationship. Despite all the noise out there, they still want a healthy relationship. And the noise is just making them question, is it possible? But we're here to say it absolutely is possible. We see good people every day. We just all need to find each other.
If you want it, you deserve it. If you want it. So don't deprive yourself.
If you want it, and you're willing to look at yourself in the process.
Yeah, and reflect.
That's the caveat, because listen to what you're saying, what energy you're putting out there, who you're surrounding yourself with, whether that's just friends and influences and online influences, or even the people you're dating. If you continue to date shitty people all the time, why are you dating shitty men over and over again? When there are good men out there, because we see this. This is what kills us, is we see this in our community, is amazing men get passed over all the time because they don't hit some stereotype of height or financial success or looks or something that people have said, like, this person isn't my type or whatever, when there is a great guy right in front of you. So it's like questioning yourself too. And again, we're not saying settle up with someone you're not attracted to, but a big part of it is like reshaping. Are you actually going for the things that matter, that will ultimately make you happy, that lead you to the right person? And a lot of times we're not.
There are only 7 things that really matter in a good partner. We have that in our book, How to Be Dateable. You can find that by getting our book on Amazon, which is on sale right now, or your local book retailer, whatever is your preference. And you can find out more at howtobedateable.com.
Everyone needs to do the perfect partner equation in there. That is how
They do.
you start seeing the good people. Awesome. Well, this has been a good discussion. We will get into more of these in the season that is just around the corner. And we're excited to be here for continued episodes around just culturally what's happening right now in dating, because there's a lot of shifts, a lot of things that are happening. So subscribe if you're not already, and we'll see you next week for it.
Bye.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.